Welcome back to the Nexon Arena with some of the best StarCraft 2 in the world. We're starting off with our second match of the night. It is going to be Deer versus ByuL for our PvZ.
That's right, so we're heading into our first of 3 in the matchup. We'll have Solar and Classic, Dark, and Stats later on tonight, so could be a bit of a longer night of SSL Premier as this matchup has been going longer as of late. You have to really favor Deer in this matchup, though. He came with a really smart strategy against Innovation. Well, several, of course, but good execution of the DT play. The Immortal drops we saw was the most impressive part. And ByuL, even though he has the higher head-to-head record career-wise and in Legacy of the Void just slightly, and looked to be the stronger player going into the season with the #2 ranking in Pennant Race for Season 1, right now he's down at dead last, hasn't taken a single map. The only player to be at an 0-4 score, and you have to think with what he's shown so far, it's going to be 0-5 after tonight.
Yeah, that's what we're expecting. We're not exactly hoping for ByuL to get crushed night after night, but as you said, the stats, they don't tell the story of the current form of both of these players. Deer, he just rocketed out of challenge. He defeated Hero, and then he defeated Beyond. He crushed his way through the fast lane. He got through Maru, made it into Premier, and we were thinking, okay, is this going to continue? Well, yes, it has. He's sitting at 3-1. He's defeated very strong opponents. He just defeated Innovation last week. So coming into this one, definitely the favorite for sure.
Yeah, and for Deer, this is actually very important because he, of the 4 players tied for 3-1, he's actually in 4th place because he has the worst map score at 6-5. The majority of his wins have come in at 2-1 victories, so a win here over ByuL to be the second player to 2-0 him would at least put him in 1st place, in pole position to take the best seed going into the playoffs. And sure, we call him the favorite, but for him, the goal is clearly to take the 2-0 victory here. Try to play it safe, succinct, don't overextend, don't take big risks as we head into this best of 3, because could be the second player to take the 2-0 over ByuL, and that's what he wants. Massive indicator points because he's so far behind when compared to the other 3-1 players.
Yeah, definitely is going to need that coming into this matchup. So guys, we're going to be jumping into Ascension to Ire for map #1. Let's do it. Deer versus ByuL right now. Eventually. It's coming. Trust me. We're getting the zoom in. They just had to talk a little bit more. And okay, it looks like we're ready to go, guys. Map #1, Ascension to Ire, Deer versus ByuL. Here we go. Game #1, Fly Better Fly, Jin Air. But there's more important things, sorry Jin Air, than that right now. There's a probe out on the map right from the get-go. Here's Deer up in the top left.
Down here at the bottom right in purple, his opponent is ByuL, the underdog. And he will face, very likely, a cannon rush here, perhaps. Well, we'll see what ends up being the case, because this is a hyper-fast probe coming across the map here, and this may just be to guarantee the hatch block, but you have to think bigger fish to fry here for Deer. Here comes the probe down. It will be the gateway, actually, instead. Just wants to guarantee the hatch block here. Normally we see a probe come out like this very much a little bit later after the first few times it's mined, just to usually get the hatch block anyways, but he comes over hyper quickly now, and it is going to be just the gateway back at home. It'll be the gate Nexus core, but he delays the hatchery quite significantly. Doesn't micro the probe perfectly, but we'll still save it here with 5 health, get away, and will force the pool to be made first. So he delays the hatchery, and such a hyper fast probe he sent across the map in order to do so. Going to cost him some money, but it's made up for by the fact this hatch was delayed.
I guess it's just the timing. It was kind of scary when we saw it go out the second the game started. I'm like, okay, what the hell is this? But Ascension to Ire, definitely a very long 2-player map, getting from main into natural, and needed to get it there at exactly that time to block the hatch. So
yeah,
Deer coming in prepared once again. I mean, this is what we've been seeing more and more out of this player, is very prepared builds. He's doing his research. He's practicing so much, perhaps more than anyone else on the ladder right now, and it really shows in his games.
When we think about Legacy of the Void, which is the 3rd iteration of StarCraft 2, and really the 5th chapter of StarCraft in general, and you look at Vanilla, Brood War, and then Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, Legacy comes in at 5th, and this is the only iteration of StarCraft actually where you can send your starting worker right across the map to not be doing a cheese. Every other time, if you did that, it would have to be a 2-gate proxy, or maybe it would be able to cannon rush, but in this case, it's just simply to block a hatchery. So how the game has evolved is quite intense. But more onto the game at hand here. It's going to be a chrono boost actually onto this first Adept, as he will go for this Stargate opening, likely to be the Oracle follow-up, which will allow him to find some damage, take the 3rd base. This has been the more normal approach to the PvZ matchup as of late, especially on maps like Newkirk Precinct. Very applicable here as well. Use the Oracles to defend lane counterattacks, take the 3rd base, and kind of rush up towards Storm. Getting massive Oracle damage done is a bonus, but it's not the crux of the opening.
Yeah, and at least ByuL able to get the full scout is going to add 4 more links just to deal with these first 2 Adepts, make sure he doesn't take any damage. And ByuL, he's been pretty good about dealing with Oracles. He had a lot of very traumatic games in Heart of the Swarm where, I remember Classic going double Oracle on Body Research Station back in, I think that was Pro League, and he just got crushed by it. So now he definitely prepares very well for Oracle builds. He knows how to deal with them. He gets those spores on time. He doesn't skimp on them on gold places like he used to. But either way, these Adepts coming in, trying to focus down some of these drones as many as possible. Will get 5 in the end, actually, that last-second glaive coming out.
Very well done. The spore is coming up in time because he did, of course, scout the Oracle early on, so he has time to respawn. But the fact that he got the 2 Adepts over here really speaks to the chrono boost commitment we saw from Deer onto the gateway, getting the 2nd Adept out very quickly. You can't do this with 1, but with 2, you get the 1-shots. Now the Oracle's going to come in, warded away here by the Queen, at least initially, but does grab a single kill as there's no Spore Crawler, and actually could maybe find this one here. The Spore immediately made. Meanwhile, there was only a probe here to block, but the probe does buy a lot of time.
Okay, he gets in. Can he sneak a Ling into the main? That would be pretty nice. Not going to get any damage done here, but he is going to feel very safe knowing exactly what the follow-up is. Just going to see those 2 gateways, and that's about it. Starts his +1 melee, is going very heavy on the Lings to start off here. Has to definitely commit to that as 2 Oracles as well as a bunch of Adepts are out on the map.
A sentry being made back at home to start building up that energy to hold off against big Ling attacks that may come across the map. We'll build up against potentially that later on Baneling attack as well. Shading in here would have been a mistake for sure, but he does back away. But the big takeaway, I think, from this early game, and you might actually have to activate these Oracles to save the Adepts. It's going to do it here. The big takeaway from this is he forced a lot of Lings to be made from all of this. And now he finds himself really even in worker counts. Deer does, so that's going to make him feel good. It's always a good feeling as a Protoss when you're on 3 bases. When the Zerg's on 3, you've got even Harvesters. And the Lings, sure, they got a few kills on the Adepts. That's a nice win there for ByuL, but it's not everything he wanted. The Oracle's getting that into kind of an even trade. There's no way to find damage with these sentries out now. And ByuL is desperately trying to find a window here. The Mothership Core in position. The Oracles are here. He's got sentry energy, and so what can these Lings hope to accomplish?
Yeah. Don't see the Oracle defense against the Lings at a 3rd base all too often nowadays. It's generally that kind of build is shut down by the the commonness of all of these Oracle builds that does come out. And, well, he's going to try to go across the map once again. ByuL finally trying to catch up in the drone count, pumping them out like a bunch of bunnies.
The rare blink coming in here from Deer, not the glaives, not the storm research that we normally see dominate this matchup. So an unusual tech choice here with the +1. And You have to wonder if we're going to see something like the old days of CJ Entis hero at the time, seeing the Blink Stalker +2 timing attack hitting the 4th or 3rd base, depending on how ByuL advances this game. But again, a very unusual style here, and he is warping in nothing but Stalkers at the moment. So this drop also, because of no speed, is going to get completely shut down. Won't even get a single Ling out. And things are looking amazing for Deer right now in this early game. I mean, nothing ByuL has been able to do has gotten him anywhere, and ByuL is...
Yeah,
I mean, he made all those Lings, didn't do anything with those. Deer's just prepared for every outcome, and some of the outcomes are forced by Deer, in fact.
And the follow-up seems strange as well, right? This very fast Spire as a follow-up to the Hydra Den. Generally, you want to be controlling the map with the Lings, the Banelings, perhaps hit a timing with Hydras in the back as well to shoot over the force fields when the Protoss is relying on these sentries to survive. But the Spire coming out seems a little bit just... It's like it's his comfort zone, right? It's the ByuL zone. I'm going to try to play mutas in every matchup and see if they work. But I feel like we've seen that this kind of strategy doesn't really work, especially against this kind of army that now has Blink about to finish up. Yeah,
and it's going to be tough to use Banelings against this at all. Obviously, the Stalkers can avoid the Banelings with Blink. There's going to be force fields. The Hydras are really going to be key here. Need to build up the Hydra count as quickly as possible. Made a huge swell of Lings, but you have to think the next larva round, once he realizes it's going to be a big Blink attack, is going to go into the Hydras. The +2 attack is going to be done soon. The Baneling speed a little ways off, still going to be helpful here, but it's not going to help him get over force fields. Okay, already has to use the first Blink. This is a great exchange for ByuL. In fact, finds the angle here with the Lings, but the Hydras are not in range yet. Wants to kill these sentries here. One goes down. Force field's coming up a bit late, but we'll see what happens if he wants to commit to another warp in here. Good trade for ByuL, though. Finds the angle with the Lings, and despite the fact that the force field wall was up, he was still able to make that a pretty nice exchange for him. Buys enough time, has the +2 attack now, and the Baneling speed.
Yeah, that kind of surround really takes forward thinking, right? You know where he's going to attack, and you prepare for it. Not every top Zerg even can do that at this moment in time. So ByuL showing a glimpse of his genius. We all got to see it out on stream, and that was definitely a very cool play to make that happen. So Deer, he goes back home. He's not really too sad about it either. He has this big follow-up of double Colossi production and all of his upgrades following through, as well as a 4th base. And again, there's not much that ByuL can do. There's too much room on the map for those Oracles to get back in time. He had to defend this base, and he's not even going for a big timing with these Hydras and anything like that. He has 81 drones, and he's just going to be playing for that late game. So going into Lurkers, he has made some of these mutas, and I'm still very concerned about the amount of damage that they can do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be the killers, right? They're not going to force a base trade or anything like that, but they can shut down prisms. They can be used to harass a base that doesn't have any defenses set up. I feel like because it's such a small investment, I'm not too worried about it, but it feels odd, right? It's still very unusual. Perhaps he's trying to fake Deer out, make him start to react and start Phoenixes or something like that, or think he needs to keep his Blink Stalkers at home while he does sit back with these drones. So there's a lot of question marks we have when we look at the Mutalist tech here, but the Lurkers are going to be the main part of the army of ByuL, at least until he gets Hive tech, but there's already a significant amount of AoE. This was hidden from ByuL. He forced the Hydras early with the Blink Stalkers. Now he's got the the Colossi. They are found by this Mutalist army, though. He does significantly wound one. But again, the Lurkers need to be in perfect position here. They do get the burrow off. The Stalkers need to start blinking away. Need to make sure they have a good arc here. There's the blink. Sentry's exposed, but the force fields are good. Will he actually just avoid the Lurkers? That's what it looks like he wants to do here. The Lurkers are being followed by the Oracle as well. Just wants to keep those tagged. He's going to try to just outrun the slow, immobile Lurker army, and the Mutalists find value.
Yeah, Cannon's not in position, but these Lurkers, they have no support. They're going to be shredded to pieces by the Colossi in the back, and nothing to protect them here for ByuL. He doesn't have much of a standing army. Almost all of his supply at this point is drones. He's still got 82. That's not going to win him the game. Deer taking game number 1.
Yeah, the Mutalists, you know, you were concerned about them. I was too. We saw what they could have maybe done if he could have bought more time, but all they did was really harass a base. The Deer was ahead over ByuL in the first place, and as I mentioned, this was not the Mutalist switch that was going to make the base trade happen. It was not the Mutalist switch that was going to force the Phoenixes. It was a Mutalist clump that got spotted by Colossi, and that for ByuL was, oh, whoa, you have Colossi. And he did get the Lurkers in good position the first time, but the second time they were outmaneuvered there, and as you said, no support for them. They kind of got cut off from the main army. And Colossus with the comeback. He tried to force the Hydras with the Blink Stalker play, then went into the counter with the Colossi.
Yeah.
Deer is thinking one step ahead of his opponents, thinking back to the Innovation Series and now going against ByuL here.
Yeah, it's interesting that he doesn't go for what you were talking about in the game, right? The Immortals, the Archons, the Storm. He chooses a faster timing, right? One that can get off the ground a lot faster, which is 4 Colossi with +2 in range. And it was the perfect thing for that map, especially. You know, you got so many corridors, so many little ramps over there when you go to your opponent's base, when you get off the middle of the map. And he already had that pressure going that it was the perfect follow-up to a game that had already been going very swell for Deer, and I really love it. I love that follow-up from him.
Yeah, the Ling defense as well. The Oracle is consistently shutting that down. ByuL so down on drones in the early game that he didn't have the army to support the lurkers in the late game as well.
So guys, we are about ready to jump into game number 2. Let's go on to Odyssey for Deer versus ByuL game 2. Here we go, game number 2 for this PVZ. Up in the top left, the yellow Protoss, it is Deer.
And his opponent to the bottom right, it is ByuL. A loss away from going down to 0-5. The bottom of this, down in 10th place. Will be the faster, or sorry, the shorter distance across maps, so the probe has the shorter travel time, so it gets there faster, which is why you can place the pylon here and then go across the map to deny the hatchery, which is what set off our panic brains in the first game with the early probe scout. As you can see here, even with this coming after pylon, he's just not quite able to deny the hatchery. We'll get the first scout and then go into the main base. So it's just the little things, you know, in StarCraft, sending the probe out just at the spawn of the workers is the only way on some of these maps to get it when you have the Zerg going for the fastest possible hatchery.
Yeah, so gonna start off honest this time around. Just gonna come in here and be annoying with this probe. And again, talking about game number 1 as we have some downtime, that kind of follow-up that he did with the Colossi is like the perfect example of what we keep talking about with Deer, like this very practiced, just kind of game sense that he has seemed to pick up. It's something that you see from players that do consistently well, like a Sue, right? A guy who can respond on the fly given the situation and say, hey, I know what to do here. I haven't really faced this situation all that often, but, you know, I faced it on the ladder, you know, maybe 3 or 4 times because I practice 10 hours a day, right? And that's what we are seeing from Deer. It makes me very excited. I had to take a step back after he got 0-2'd by Classic the week before he faced off against Innovation and took him down, which was last week. But, man, this guy has been very exciting to watch so far, and I fear for ByuL's life, man. You were talking about going down to the bottom. He's almost hitting rock bottom here. He's going to have to be dealing with some advanced darkness eventually if he doesn't win this one.
That is where he's headed. Yeah. Yep, down 20,000 leagues under first place.
Yeah, well, he is picking up some money thanks to the format of this tournament. Even though he is 0-4, he's already made 1.1 million won. You know, it's about $1,000.
We talked about it last week. He dealt with a lot of you know, tough first opponents going into this one, Classic, Solar, and the ZVZ at the beginning. And we went to week 3 and 4. We said, okay, let's not adjust our expectations for ByuL yet. But after watching the series last week, you really have to. And you have to say the player who was second place last season is no longer at the top of the list. We had questionable expectations for Zest and SOS going into Season 1. Their expectations were met, much to the dismay of their fans, right? But for ByuL fans, tonight's matches don't feel any cleaner, don't feel any closer to what we saw last season. And sure, the series could still be turned around, but already Deer is one step away from his objective. Like I said, trying to get the maximum amount of indicator points on the player who hasn't taken the series yet. When you play against the toughest player in a round robin, if you take one win, you feel great. When you play against the easiest player in terms of standing, if you drop a game, you feel terrible. And if you're Deer who wants to rise to the top, he's tied at the 3-1. Every single game is important. So let's take a step back and look at the game we're at right now. It's going to be the Phoenix follow-up, actually, after the Oracle. Not going to go double here, so he will be able to clean up the Overlords and get some additional information.
Actually, he goes Oracle, Phoenix, Oracle. So that's something you don't see every day. Generally, it's 2 Oracles to hit that timing where you can come in and one-shot drones. Or, you know, just go straight into Phoenixes and play a Phoenix game. This is not going to work as he flies straight into Queens and loses that Oracle after only getting 2 kills.
Yeah, not the best control. They're not the cleanest. But I think maybe this is a, well, I have to change what I was going to say after I see this. But I was going to say, I think maybe this Phoenix is going to be kind of an adjustment because ByuL went for the Ling drop in the last game. But now we have to just say it's going to be 2 Stargate Phoenix. So it's going to be a massive Phoenix tech switch. An older approach to the game, in fact, that isn't really as meta anymore. And he's going to clean up Overlords and he's going to look for drone kills. The most important part of this is hiding it. And he's going to clean up this Overlord with the Phoenix here. So ByuL doesn't know that there's a massive commitment to Phoenix is underway. He's actually making another Oracle too.
He's making double Oracle.
Wow.
So this is something you really don't see all too often. It's a bit gimmicky, but because of the Phoenix that he made, he's going to deny any scouting of this forever. I mean, this is going to be that has type moment where it's like, wait, you made that many Oracles? You have 12 Oracles? How is that even possible? And I think that's what Deer is looking to hit. And when you're going up against a guy who likes to go Ling, Bane, Hydra, and a lower amount of Queens than normal, this can definitely be deadly.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very cool follow-up. And ByuL, he needs to get the scout, but he's got nothing over there right now.
It's the Phoenixes that allow this to happen. Deer supply block for just a moment, but now going strong. I think we saw SOS do this once. We've seen this from Haz as well, right? But this is a very unusual build. You see it 1 out of 50, maybe 1 out of 100 PVZs. Let's see how ByuL responds. Obviously, finding out, as you said, is going to be the first step. And he's going into the very normal Hydra Bane this time. Just as we saw before, doesn't need the Hydras very early because we're not seeing that aggressive Blink Stalker attack.
Yeah, and this is, I'm glad you mentioned the Blink Stalker attack because ByuL, he can get information without directly seeing the Stargates, right? If he goes up to the 3rd base and he sees 4 Adepts, he's like, what are you building? Yeah. What are you going for? Are you just teching on all fronts? What exactly is this? So he might get a little bit tipped off, if you will. And he is making a Spine Crawler. Unfortunately, even though it's got a really long neck, not long enough to hit the Oracles in the sky.
Yeah, he knows something's hidden. I wonder if he thinks it's an Adept follow-up with these Blink Stalker, or sorry, with the Spines he's making. Maybe he thinks it's a Glaive attack. Only 4 Queens here. I think 1 Spore. And he can lift the Queens with the Phoenixes here. He's just going to go for broke now in the main base. Onto the Spore Caller. Once it's down, no anti-air here. It's going to be a drone fiesta here. They need to get out. They need to get out a long time ago. And
popping out that Queen. Yep. Down goes the Hydra. And here comes
wall.
a big run by, though. There's only a Zealot over there.
Okay, he's going to need to have more than this. Warpins coming in right now. No Sentry Warpins, in fact. Just going to be Zealots. Will he be able to keep that wall tight?
Nope.
Nope.
There's the answer. We got an overcharge. That pylon will do work, but here come the Banelings. They're blocked for now.
Surprise.
Needs to push them through, and there it goes.
Yeah, but they're not going to kill all the Zealots. The Adepts come through. He does finally get the Lings in. A bit surprised we didn't see the Sentry Warp in there. This could give ByuL an opportunity to get some counter damage, but look at this. Oracles pop out just in time. The Oracles, some of them flying back to shut this down. And 20 workers killed in an entire empty main base now. Nothing mining there. So Deer continuing to get further ahead in economy. Will now have the charge, the +1 attack for the Zealot count he's building. Perhaps that's why he was building more Zealots than the Sentries. And the continual counterattacks, they're going to keep coming with these Oracles. He can't find the Hydras straight up, but he can catch reinforcements, maybe some Lings, or just go and hit that drone line again.
Well, he needs to deal with this attack. ByuL, he knows that this is his moment. There's not much on the ground here for Deer. Has some sentries mixed in now, and actually he's going to take the fight. Here we go. The Oracle's coming in and zapping those Hydras. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough Hydras.
Well, there's a lot more Lings coming, though, where those Hydras came from. Does force a huge warp in here, though. But he lost all the Oracles. Didn't want to, he thought he could take the fight straight up. There are queens coming across the map. I don't think Deer is taking this push as seriously as he should. Gonna lose his mothership core now. Has to back off with the Hydras. The wall is not tight here. The Lings want the kills on the army units though. Then they're gonna go in and get the economy. Deer did not take this seriously. Did not have the preparation. Should have tried to buy time with the Oracles there. Let the Hydras hit on his wall to get a few more warpins, but now he's lost everything. And this should actually be a win for ByuL as the Lings stream across the map. It's a long run back to hit here, but that's it. GG. Deer just didn't have enough warpins. Well played on the counterattack there. Deer just not showing respect, and he is not going to get the 2-0 he was looking for tonight.
ByuL with a cheeky grin. He knows he got away with it, and it was basically his one move, right? He had taken way too much economic damage. He still had 3 hatcheries. He could produce a bunch of stuff with this bank, so he went for it, brought everything that he had, including all the queens, and then he said, okay, let's hope this goes well. And I think you're 100% right. If he buys time, he uses force fields, he takes it more seriously, Deer. He goes behind his wall, you know, he uses his overcharge in the fight. He doesn't just fight it straight up. I think he would have won that fight, but he just went for it too much, too confident.
I mean, he could use overcharge to buy time with the pylons at the front, and yeah, eventually he's going to lose. Yeah, eventually loses his gateway, but he gets maybe 1 more warpin, 2 more sets of warpins, has a lot more sentries, so his zealots get more value when they charge in. And yeah, ByuL would have continued running across the map, but he has more money. He keeps warping and force ByuL to attack your third base. Then when his armies kind of split up as he's trying to attack your third base off creep, then you kind of end up running into the charge zealots there, right? And you buy more time, and maybe you lose your third base, but it's okay because you killed so many drones. If you clean up the Zerg army, you survive. But ByuL had to not just do damage, kill there. And with Deer's lack of respect, that's exactly what he did.
So it comes down to this. We are going to have another 2-1 series for our second one. And ByuL, he's had a lot of those. He's done it against Classic, against Maru, against Dark. Let's see if he can actually win a best of 3 this time around and crush Deer's dreams of having a good record at this point. Let's jump into game number 3 on Overgrowth. Overgrowth is the map here as we enter a very tense game 3. Down on the bottom left, it's Deer, the Protoss player. Has to take his opponent more seriously this time.
Yeah, his opponent is ByuL to the top right, the former CJ Zerg player. So, see no probe coming across the map to block hatchery this time. Just going to be the first gateway. Wants to get a little bit more eco with this. Get a few more mining trips. Not even going to send it post-gateway, knowing that ByuL has been showing the hatch first every time. He's okay with that here. And so we'll just continue to get that extra mining. We see the gas. This is something that Deer was doing before others, is to get the gas before the Nexus and Core, but he's been showing it to us 2 games in a row now. You mine just a little bit of gas so you can get the warp gate research immediately afterwards with the Nexus or the faster Stargate if you really want to rush it out. So that's why he gets the gas here.
Yeah,
so,
I'm looking for Deer.
Actually.
Yeah, he's going to go 2-gate, be a little bit more aggressive, and it does fit the map. You do get over to your opponent's base a lot faster, and you can make it hell for Zerg if you force him to continue making Lings on a short map like this instead of drones for that third base. It can definitely be very annoying on this one, and I'm looking for Deer to play it more straight up once again. You know, I feel like he is the better player in terms of form against ByuL. It was cool to see the double Stargate Oracle, right? Everybody was enjoying that, and it was looking really cool. He decimated the main base, did a lot of damage there, but then he lost the game because he couldn't stop the follow-up of the Hydras. I just want to see him play it straight up, go for that normal style. That's what Classic did to him, and that's how Classic was able to win that game. And I think Deer can do the same thing. So enough of the shenanigans. Let's just get down to business here, Deer.
I wonder what the business is going to be, though. We see the Chrono Boost on double gateway here. Going to chrono out the second Oracle to try to time these together. Sorry, not Oracle, Adept, to try to time these out together. And when they pop out, they're going to come across the map. But the next two are going to be the scary ones. We'll see Warp Gate Research. You have to think chronoed here. But also let's remember that this probe is still out here. The pylon's being placed. Begs the question, is this going to be a proxy Oracle to use while these are harassing, or will it be a gateway? And will we see this hyper-aggressive, old-school Adept attack? That's the big question. We'll have it answered here in just a moment. 150 gas on the horizon, and it is going to be the Stargate option of the two, the more common one. So it's going to be Queens and Lings trying to deal with two fronts of harass. Speaking of Queens, this Queen is doing a good job of it right now.
It's a cool idea for the map. You can swing around the main. The main isn't gigantic, such as other maps. You can get in there pretty fast, attack that mineral line, and you don't usually always expect it when you see the two gates. You know, maybe you see a follow-up of the Twilight Council because you have so many Adepts. It's the honest follow-up, right? And he does go for it eventually because he will want the glaives for all these Adepts that he's making, but this Stargate, it's in a weird spot. It's not scouted. It's different for the build you're expecting, and could definitely catch ByuL off guard, although he is making a Spore Crawler right now, just one.
He's got so many Lings, by the way. He made a ton of Lings.
He might scout this.
He might.
Those Lings, they're running over there. I think they're going to scout it.
Ooh, I don't know if he actually saw.
Did.
Okay, he did.
He saw it. Okay.
He saw it. You can see on the mini-map. But his Lings that are killing this are not at home. It leaves a few Lings over here, just 4 able to hit the surface area of this pylon.
Is it going to pop out? I don't think it will. It's not going to be fast enough here, and the pylon will go down.
So close, but he doesn't get the Oracle. But still, drones are going down regardless. The Lings have to go home. He made so many Lings that he finds himself at a worker deficit. I was going to say worker devastation. That's not quite it with just the 7 kills, but it's devastating how far behind he was in workers to begin with, the deficit. But he's evening it up now, forcing the Oracle cancel. It's a lot of resources committed to buy dear gas that he just now got back, at least half of it from the Oracle cancel, but he'll never get back from the Stargate, from the pylon he committed to there. The 4 gateway follow-up means that it almost feels like Deer just wants to go for an Adept all-in, to throw ByuL one last curveball to try to take this one. Not willing to try to play the straight-up game that you were wanting to see. Not willing to say, perhaps I'm the better player despite this kind of fail here with the Stargate. Instead of trying to reset, try to catch up in economy, and play a more normal game, he wants to go for the throat. He wants to go for the kill move. Wants to remove this Overlord to keep this hidden. But look at this, actually. Adepts get caught. That's going to hurt the push.
Yeah, good catch here. Not sure if that's enough Lings at the end of it. He only gets 1 Adept, so not the best trade. But you can see that ByuL knows what's coming already. 9 Roaches are on the way. He's gotten through here. He's going to scout no 4th gas as well, and he's like, okay, yeah, I know. He's going to come in here, sees the extra gateways, and he should be very prepared for this. He does lose that Overlord, which is annoying. It's going to supply block him for now, but he already has a huge chunk of Roaches that are ready on the defense.
Yeah, that one Ling is going to continue to be annoying in the main base too, but the Roaches are the key. That's why even weakening these Adepts with the Lings from before, forcing the Ling run by there, these are huge advantages for ByuL. Needs to make sure he has his Roaches together here, and already Deer's trying to make the transition, but transitioning out of this one is very difficult. Adding a Robo this late into the game after committing to the 11 Adepts, it just feels like he's hoping now that because we saw such a heavy commitment to Roaches, he can counter them with the Immortals coming out, with the 3rd base. But I think he still needs to somehow get behind ByuL's defenses, slide into the 3rd base there, try to get some drone kills, maybe get in the main base here. Should cancel this one, you have to think, though, because the Roaches are already positioned. The Lings are caught, catching these Adepts as well, and how many kills can he really hope to achieve? It's all about the 3rd base, because this gets shut down with very little damage, but the 3rd, that's where ByuL's exposed.
This is the weakness of Roaches. You have to split them well, and he is getting a nice bit of damage, but he is losing all of these Adepts at the same time. This was basically Deer's only army at this point. He's making more Adepts back at home as well as those Immortals, but the attack, it needed to do a little bit more economic damage than that, because we got a big attack coming across the map from ByuL here, trying to go for the throat.
Such a low drone economy for ByuL this entire game because of the heavy Ling commitment you saw earlier, the drone kills we saw, the Roach commitment when he realized it was an all-in. And so this is a weird place where if this fails for ByuL, we could have a totally different scenario here. Force fields will only buy a little bit of time because there are Ravagers here, but look at how well they're placed actually. Dropping force fields on top of these is actually a risk. You might hit your own army, hit your own Ravager with that grab there on the Ravagers specifically. Deer needs to buy time. More Immortals means a stronger defense here. He has a third base up in mining. He's ahead, in fact, in Harvesters. But stepping out here might have been overextending a little bit. Does have the force fields yet again to try to trap some of these Ravagers in. That's exactly what he does here. Avoids those ByuLs. Here comes the overcharge.
Yeah, I don't know about going down that ramp. He's extremely overconfident to take this fight once again. And the force fields behind the Ravagers to force them in. But the second Immortal is going to come out. It's doing that work. And another Warpin of Adepts. It looks like he should be able to hold down here. But Lings, they are streaming across the map. It's an extremely close fight at this point.
He just can't kill the Immortals, though. And these Ravagers aren't going to have much staying power. Lings do stream in here. Needs to see another Warpin. We need to see another Warpin from Deer here of the Adepts. He does do so now. Targets the Ravagers down, is destroying them so quickly here. But the attack has failed. And ByuL, he made so many units. He panicked so hard when the attack came in. When more drones were killed, he saw blood in the water after he killed the Adepts. Thought moving across the map would be the answer. But Deer had the proper formation there. The pylon in position to deal with the ramp. Had the attack been at the right side, maybe he could have chunked down some of the buildings of Deer with the ByuLs right here. Maybe chunk down those pylons that are behind the gateways against the low-range army of Deer. Then take a fourth base, drone up. But he went for the frontal attack, and now Deer is massively ahead.
Yeah, you have to think maybe Zerg, who is more informed, would have just taken that lead and said, okay, I'm going to take the fourth base here at the gold. I'm gonna drone up. There's not much that you can do. I killed all of your Adepts, but running straight into the Immortals up the ramp doesn't seem to be the answer here for ByuL, as, again, he's stuck on Roach tech. He doesn't even have a Baneling Nest at this point, and just Ling Roach, I don't know if this is really going to work out for him.
Yeah.
Got this Warp Prism coming in as well.
The Immortals
are just not in high enough number here.
Yeah, the Immortals are vulnerable only when there's no Adepts, but there's so many more being warped in here. They have the Glaives. They deal with the Lings so handily. That means
behind.
Yeah, that means that the Immortals are just going to be fighting the Roaches directly once the Lings fade away. And ByuL is in a tough spot tech-wise here. He just finds himself kind of countered and shut down by these Immortals. No higher tech, no Hydras to speak of. And his low drone economy all game long finally may be the reason why he loses out here in this third and final game. GG.
Deer does it.
Closes it out. Didn't get the 2-0 he was looking for, but still is able to hold strong. Takes the +1 indicator for this one. And will be the first player to take a 4th win in Season 2.
Yeah, this is going to be the 4th time that he did take a 2-1. Every time he's won, it's been a 2-1. So it's been a close series every single time for Deer. When he is winning them, he's won a match against all 3 races, and being at 4-1 in a pack this competitive definitely means that Deer currently, despite his weak performance over at the GSL going down over there, definitely seems to be in very high form and is one of our better Protosses in Korea.
Yeah, it feels like he's on his way to the playoffs. And that's why I say the goal is to take a 2-0, not just the 2-1s repeatedly here. As people gotta go to the bathroom as the game's over, we gotta run. It's like, this is my chance. Okay, we're getting the next game started.
And they're
soon.
being featured on TV. That's nice, you know.
Get their hair
to show
on
their
TV.
face. It's cool.
But yeah, I think the next goal, the next step for Deer is to push forward towards a higher seed into the playoffs, because unless he just totally flops for the rest of the season, he's had some tough opponents. This was his easiest one so far. I think he ends up almost with a guaranteed playoff spot, but how far he goes is whether he can clean up these series and get the 2-0s, not overextending or playing a little bit sloppy when he sees the 1-0, because he leads most of these series as well. Yeah. I think that's the one thing that's kind of missing, and it's not a specific thing about his play style or his preparation. I think it's about mindset.
It is about mindset. I mean, I was even talking to you about a prediction I made for him against Flash, I think in like 2015, where I'm like, he's ahead, he should win this, and his inconsistency just drives me crazy at times. Well, if it really does, it's still there. We'll hope he can get over it. But guys, we're going to go to a break before going into